Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to the MMA Short Show. As always, your boy, Steven Moustaris. And guys, man, I had to come on here. UFC 300 this weekend. Finally, it's here. I've done my fair share of talking about how I think maybe it was a little more hype than what we ended up getting. But now that we're finally here and we can look at this fight card, it's absolutely stacked from top to bottom. And there's so many great fights, too many to almost even talk about. So what I kind of wanted to do, instead of boring you guys talking about every single fight, giving you predictions for every single fight, I wanted to go through and just, break down the top 10 most important, storylines, potential outcomes, people that could potentially steal the night. I kind of wanted to just break them down and just really look what's at stake at UFC 300 in such a packed night and such a crazy night. With all these big fights, everybody from the top to bottom has a chance to, Cody Garbrandt gets a nasty knockout, or Divas and Figueiredo just off the rip could really set the tone. I mean, the way that they have the placement with the whole card, Bo Nickel on there. I mean, this thing is so damn stacked. Even on the early, just the prelims main event, Jiri Prochazka and, Alexander Rakic, this fight card is stacked to the gills, and there's so many things to break down. So let's get into number 10, where Jalen Turner and Renato Moicano, Money Moicano, go at it. And the reason that this is number 10 to me is, shouts out to the Jim Miller and the Bobby Greens on this fight card. Shouts out to the Holly Holm on this fight card. Even Marina Rodriguez and, good old Jessica Andrade. There's a tons of great fights, tons of legends on the fight card that can maybe sneak in at the top 10. But if we're really being honest, even if Holly Holm or, Bobby Green or Jim Miller, any of these people get a win, it's not going to necessarily carry for the future. It's not going to be that big. It's just another legend getting a big dub, which is cool. But when it comes to Money Moicano and, good old Jalen Turner, whoever wins this one, it's going to be absolutely crucial for their future. You're going to take a setback if you lose, but whoever wins this one, man, you're looking at the top of the top there. You're going to put yourself in a position to maybe fight for the belt here at maybe the end of 2024, maybe the beginning of 2025. You're at least putting yourself in that position at such a stacked 155, and you never know right now what's going on with the Michael Chandlers, the Benoit Saint Denis currently, the Rafael Fiziev, the Beneil Dariush's in the world. You don't know what's going on, and if Gaethje somehow loses to Holloway this weekend, and, you never know at 155 right now how you can maybe get lucky with a big name. We just saw with Benoit Saint Denis got lucky with good old Dustin Poirier. Rafael Fiziev got lucky with Gaethje. Sarukian got lucky with not only both Beneil Dariush or, now it's Charles Oliveira. And when I say lucky, just with the name, this is a huge name to get you in the top, 5, top 4, top 3, even when we're talking 155. And especially Jalen Turner, if we're going to be fair about it, this man's 6'2". There's a reason this man is called the Tarantula and everything. This dude is ginormous in there. And if this man can finally get it together like he is at 28 years old, I'm telling you guys, he's a tough out for anybody. Even we saw it with Garbrandt. We see it with all these people. You're finally going to put yourself in such a huge position to get there in the top 5, top 3. And you never know with somebody like Jalen Turner or even Money Moicano, not to sleep on him. He's been a lot of fun recently. He's kind of almost revamping himself a little bit, almost like not quite as, drastic, but if we want to look at it, you can kind of tell he made that flip of a switch like, Jorge Masvidal did and later in his career, where it's like, hey, man, I know I got to stick out now, so I'm just going for the absolute kill, and I'm going for finish after finish, and it's been working for him. So that fight right there is definitely a tough one to watch. I don't know who to pick. I'm leaning Jalen Turner clearly, but you can never count out somebody like Money Moicano, who's so good on the not only on the feet, but maybe even better on the ground. So I'm excited to see it and see who gets there in the top 10 and top 5 and all these things. So number 9, this one's tough right here. Jiri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. I mean, more so, I think there's more of a bright side here for Jiri Prochazka. If you win this fight, especially with the main event here at UFC 300, you can always go back and be like, oh, if Alex Pereira wins this weekend, you could always go back and be honest and go, oh, man, it was an early stoppage. It was a great fight up until like, oh, I want my rematch, especially if you go out and like starch Alexander Rakic. That could be perfect for him. And even with the Jamal Hill fight, we've been wanting that fight forever. So that would be an absolute massive fight. So with Jiri Prochazka, it's almost similar with a lot of these things we're going to be talking about, unless it's already for the belt. I mean, this guy right there is going to put himself into title contention. And if you want to be real about Alexander Rakic, this man's been out for, quite some time with some nasty injuries. And, as great as that man was looking, he kind of got stopped, like we said, with the injury. So this would be a massive win, a massive comeback, to beat somebody like Jiri Prochazka, who's so, highly loved and, highly regarded. I'm telling you guys right now, this is it right here, especially in a 205 right now that, it's kind of weird. Like, you got a guy who's only been fighting, 11, 12 fights in the UFC, and he's the champion, and he has a chance to become, we'll get more into it down this list, but I'm just saying there's a lot of opening right now at 205. There's so many things that you could have if just for these guys like Jiri Prochazka, Alexander Rakic, even like we said, Jamal Hill and Alex Pereira. So I'm absolutely looking forward to that fight as well. And that's a prelim main event. That's going to have a lot of eyes on it. I'm just saying right now, if Jiri Prochazka or Alexander Rakic get a knockout or something crazy, that has some potential right there. It's such a high, UFC 205 or UFC 300 at 205 pounds. I'm just telling you guys, that has all the makings for a crazy viral knockout. So clearly I'm leaning Jiri Prochazka, but I think it would be massive, and then it could kind of just work its way out tonight or that night for whoever wins the main event. You're already Jiri Prochazka. You're already talking about, hey, I want the winner for sure. And guess what? You're probably going to get it. So that's clearly got to be number 9. And then if we're going to go on to number 8, man, this one for me, I'm telling you guys right now, it's more so Deiveson Figueiredo. It has probably the higher chance of getting more love and getting more, I don't know how to explain it, getting more push, I guess, for his future. Like, if this man Deiveson Figueiredo goes out there and knocks out Cody Garbrandt at UFC 300 in the very first fight of the night, after all the bad blood that they had and everything, this man right there is going to take out a guy like Rob Font, who he's always a tough outing for anybody. And then to take out Cody Garbrandt, who's one of the craziest knockout artists that we've ever seen at 135. If Deiveson Figueiredo goes out there and does that to Cody Garbrandt, I'm telling you guys right now, this man might be a legitimate contender there at 135. Like, I'm already thinking he is, but this will just push him over even more, especially because you can say, oh, Cody Garbrandt's on a 2-fight win streak finally. He's finally getting back to it. But at the same time, this could be an absolutely massive resurgence for Cody Garbrandt. This man right there has so many different potentials that he could do out there, potential fights, potential rematches. You could do a bunch of things with Cody Garbrandt, but if this man goes out there and gets knocked out and looks really bad against Deiveson Figueiredo, not only after all the shit talking and everything that this man does, this could maybe be it for Cody Garbrandt. It's almost every time that we watch this man fight, it feels like he's a knockout away from going to bare knuckle or something, and it's tough. But, if this man, Cody Garbrandt, goes out there, because his last 2 wins are against Trevin Jones and good old Brian Kelleher, who I think have a combined record of like 30 wins and I think 45 losses or something crazy. But in all fairness, if he gets a win over somebody at such a stature, a former champion like Deiveson Figueiredo, like, oh my goodness, I'm just saying, that fight right there has all the makings for another crazy thing. And to start the night off, like, the UFC matchmakers know what they're doing. And I just have high praise. Like I've already talked about in the video, I have high praise for Deiveson Figueiredo. And I think he goes out there and starches Cody Garbrandt. And I think this man makes a solid push at 135 for his one last push in his career, because this man's still fresh. He's finally not making weight cuts. So all I know is this is an absolute grudge match. And I think us fans are going to be well in store for a great treat. So I definitely want you guys to watch out for that one. Number 7, this one speaks for itself. Bo Nickel. You can't even bring up Cody Brundage. I'm sorry. If you want to, it's if we're looking at the top 10 greatest underdog picks that you're going to pick at this fight, or at this fight card of UFC 300, because I think Cody Brundage is at like a plus 2,400 or plus 1,200 or something crazy right now, or 12-1 underdog that you could put a little $5 on that or put a little $10 on that, and you're going to make some good money. But this is literally made for Bo Nickel to just keep looking good. It's a showcase to keep hyping this dude up, and there's no secret at all. If this man goes out there and takes somebody out like Cody Brundage, who, is at least game, he's definitely probably a sitting duck out there, but he's game, he's been around, he's a vet, if he can take him out, it's off to the races for Bo Nickel and the UFC. This man's going to be an absolute star. This is the time he opens up the main card. This man goes out there and gets a crazy knockdown or shows off his wrestling and gets a submission quick. I mean, we might be seeing the Khamzat Chimaev fight soon. We might be seeing all these damn fights. This man is going to put himself in the middle of everything in the mix, and I think we finally start seeing him fight some of these top killers in 185. So I'm absolutely excited for it. I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's pretty much the most locked-in pick of the weekend is going to be Bo Nickel. But I think what's not just big for Bo Nickel here, I think this is a massive chance for the UFC to have another just huge superstar in the making. So if Bo Nickel can do this, especially after, the state championship and college wrestling was just on ESPN and everything, this would be a massive moment for not just MMA, but for wrestlers and everything. Bo Nickel is on track right now to really take over, and he's putting the U.S. on the map right now with all these Dagestanis in MMA. I'm excited to start seeing these matchups. So clearly Bo Nickel's got to be up there. But the only reason, and number 6, the only reason I got Kayla Harrison above Bo Nickel is because I truly think if Kayla Harrison can come out here, not only a gold medalist in judo, whatever, in the Olympics, all these crazy things, I understand it. I understand the whole PFL. I understand everything that she's done. I did watch the Larissa Pacheco fight, but regardless, if this woman can come out there and take somebody out like Holly Holm, which in my opinion, I think that they put her up against Holly Holm for her to get the win and just to test the weight limit. But if she can make weight and she goes out there and looks good and doesn't look like she got killed, this is all the UFC needs right now to revamp a little bit for the women's division, especially if good Amanda Nunes is actually retired, or if you want her to come back out of retirement. Like, this is the number one thing to happen. Like, this could be outside of Zhang Weili winning this weekend. I think this could be the biggest thing for the UFC when it comes to women's MMA, and it should be the Juliana Pena fight this weekend. But I understand they're probably too worried about putting Kayla in there, and if she misses weight, then you got to call the fight off. So why not put a 45-year-old Holly Holm in there? But the only reason I didn't mention Holly Holm for this is, let's be real, guys. I love Holly Holm to death. She's done some of the most amazing things in the sport, but this win over Kayla Harrison, who would be sucked down all the weight and everything, like, you could easily sit here and make like all the excuses in the world for Kayla Harrison and why she lost. And if Holly Holm wins, it's like, we've already seen her fight the top of the top. She's not in championship level anymore, even though she's still a high level athlete. I just don't know what it does for the UFC. I think they're putting all their eggs in the Kayla Harrison basket. And if she does that, I think that Juliana Pena fight could be massive. The Raquel Pennington fight could be massive. Like, I'm telling you guys right now, like, it's going to be huge. It's going to be massive. And you're going to get Amanda Nunes out of retirement. So it's the best of both worlds. And to beat somebody like Holly Holm at their stature, like, she's going to make herself look like she belongs. So clearly that's got to be up there. And then number 5, I got Aljamain Sterling. I'm telling you, not much Calvin Kattar. I'm not trying to be mean to Calvin Kattar. I think a win for him is, clutch for himself to show, like, hey, that 145 ain't no joke compared to 135. You think you're going to come up here and, change everything? Like, nah, son. Like, I'm still the man. Even though other people may be a little better than me, I'm still, the pinnacle of 145. I'm still maybe even a gatekeeper, whatever you want to call him. Like, this would be a massive win for him, but it's, again, you fought a 135er. I don't think Calvin Kattar gets much win here, but if Aljamain Sterling goes out there, backpacks Calvin Kattar, shows that, hey, man, my grappling, you guys must have forgot how good Sean O'Malley is. Like, hey, Calvin Kattar, I love you, but you're not the sniper that Sean O'Malley is. That's what I'm thinking if I'm Aljamain Sterling. If he goes out there and takes somebody out like Calvin Kattar and, nullifies his, not only his striking, but can submit somebody like Calvin Kattar or just dominate him for 15 minutes and actually not have to worry about the weight cut, look good, be filled out a little bit. I'm telling you, Aljamain Sterling's going to give anybody problems at 145. I've been saying it, I already broke down the video. Could you guys imagine that man fighting Brian Ortega? Not only would it be one of the greatest, at least on paper, most, the best like submission grappling, matchup we've almost ever had, especially at 145. But could you imagine that, man? I don't care who you are. I truly don't care who you are. If you're Volkanovski, if you're Tapura, if you're Max Holloway, my guy, who I'm going to be talking about later too, anybody at 145. If Aljamain Sterling gets your back, buddy, even at 155, 170, I don't care who you are. Aljamain Sterling is an absolute killer. He's in the pound for pound discussion for the best grappler. I don't care what it is. So I think this could be massive. I think this could go up and he can maybe, revamp himself a little bit, get a little more excited, be like, hey, I already went out and did everything I wanted to do at 135. I was killing myself with the weight cut. They were almost pushing me out of there because of everything that went down. This would be huge for Aljamain Sterling. He's got no pressure on him like he did in Boston when he fought, good old Sean O'Malley. I just think this could be massive, but if he loses, it's probably one of the worst things ever at UFC 300 for him, clearly, and the fans aren't going to care. But, like, what's he going to do? You can't move back down to 135. You've already burned that bridge. You got Marab there, who's your best friend, who's already fighting for the title. Like, come on now. Like, this is all or nothing for Aljo, and I really think this could be a real good title push for him at 145. I don't know how he would react to somebody so good like Tapura or Volkanovski or any of these people, but like I said, if he get the back of anybody or gets them down, this man can finish anybody he wants or make it a long night and zap your energy and then just do whatever he wants to you. So I'm really excited, looking forward to that one. And then this is where we get crazy here in the top 4. These are tough to kind of match. I could probably do a video in an hour and probably change the at least the 3, the 4 and 3 match. But at number 4, Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan. I mean, clearly, when I first think about it, if Arman Tsarukyan wins, it's massive because you just write the greatest story ever with him and Islam. Their first fight in the UFC together, they both went to to the brink, and most people kind of thought Arman Tsarukyan has given Islam the best fight outside of Volkanovski. So that right there, this man Arman Tsarukyan go out there and take out a Beneil Dariush, then take out Charles Oliveira, who could be arguably the champion if he didn't get hurt with just not too long ago and actually fought Islam. You never know what could have happened, but still, this would be absolutely huge for Tsarukyan. This would be crazy for 155, especially the new blood. I mean, this is literally, whoever wins this legitimately gets a title shot. So like, it's got to be in the top 5. It's got to be in the top 4. There's so many things, but also the fandom, the people that love Charles Oliveira, the Charles heads, the blonde heads out there, like, they love Charles Oliveira, and this could be huge. And if you're asking me, I think Charles Oliveira's got the best stylistic matchup for Islam to take his belt. And of course, I'm always going to root for Charles. I love Charles Oliveira. But if we're being real, if we're looking for new blood, if we're looking for, just something fresh and everything, Arman Tsarukyan winning this fight, could be huge. And you could already see Islam maybe pushing, we get him and Ali Abdelaziz. They're going to be sitting there like, you know what? We do like you and everything, Dustin Poirier, but I think we're going to go Arman Tsarukyan for the next fight. And I think it just writes itself. So clearly, number 1 contenders match, it's got to be up there, at least one of them. So, and then number 3, just everything for Chinese women's MMA right now. Not only what I think clearly the most massive thing, the most crucial thing that could happen for the UFC is if Zhang Weili goes out there and wins. Not only is she becoming a star just here in the States and clearly already for her in China, that writes itself. I'm just saying, could you imagine if she wins this one and she goes up and starts fighting the winner of whoever it is? She can fight Valentino or she can fight Grasso. I think the Grasso fight might be a little better. China versus Mexico. I think that would be huge for the UFC. And then I'm just saying, man, that would probably be the biggest thing. And if it is, and if Yan Jinan comes out there and wins, I'm just saying, I could see that being a huge trilogy or, whatever it may be. I think that could be a next, great rivalry. And we're looking here like, holy crap, these two Chinese ladies going at it. So I think that's massive for the women's MMA. Clearly, it's a championship fight, so you got to be up there in the top 3. I was arguing about putting that at number 7 because I know you people don't care about women's MMA. But let's be real here, man. This is pretty crucial for the women's division right now. Zhang Weili, arguably probably the biggest star right now in women's MMA between her and Alexa Grasso. So I just think this would be huge. She wins this one, moves up, fights Grasso or Valentina, which you're probably hoping Grasso, especially if they do that at Mexican Independence Week, whatever, at the Sphere. Like, oh my God, that would be crazy. So clearly that one's got to be number 3. And then, all right, this is where I was torn a little bit because I just don't know how to explain it. I think both of these fights clearly are the 1 and 2, number 1, number 2, back to back. No matter how you divide it, these two are the most important storylines by far. UFC 300. It's the reason we're watching it, and truly, I think number 2, the second most important, is the Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill fight. I know what you're saying. It's the main event. What are you talking about? Oh my gosh, it's for the light heavyweight championship. I know what y'all talking about, but let's sit here and seriously think it here, man. If Alex Pereira wins, I think that it's absolute madness. This dude's only fought 11 times in the UFC. What he has done already, he's already have a Hall of Fame career in 11 fights. And at the end of the day, I've said it 9 times out of 10. I've said it every single time I've ever talked about the man. This dude would not be here right now if it was not for Israel Adesanya. So that's why I think it's not as important when we talk about the Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje fight, because when you're talking Alex Pereira, I think even if he goes out there and loses against Jamal Hill, okay, wow, what you've already done at light heavyweight is crazy. What you've already done to just make your transition from kickboxing to MMA, absolute crazy, man. Claps, everything out, hats off to you. We're clapping it up for you. Standing ovation. You deserve it. But I think regardless if he loses or whatever, you always have the Israel Adesanya fight out there. And if he does win, I mean, clearly that's your argument there. You could bring Izzy up. That's the biggest fight that you can do for the UFC. That's why it's probably the top 2 things out there. You could maybe make it, if, like I said, if Jiri goes out there and wins, you could probably do the rematch. If Alexander Rakic goes out there and wins, that's a great matchup for, Alex Bahia if he can beat Jamal Hill. Not only does he knock out an undefeated Jamal Hill, like that could be huge for this man, Alex Bahia, but if you're Jamal Hill, this man, if he wins, I think it's probably the best for 205 because I think you can make the Jiri fight even easier. I think that's the fight that everybody wants at 205. At Jamal Hill, I think he's got probably you're almost, regardless when it comes to Alex Bahia and Jamal Hill, you're probably, those two are your top two when it comes to who's going to have a chance to make the most viral knockout. And I think that's what another thing that's so clutch about this main event at UFC 300. Not necessarily like we didn't want it that bad as a fan, like I don't think we wanted to push it that quick. I think you could have waited till next month, but I think it's the perfect chance for UFC 300. We've already watched Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje fight. We've already just watched the women fight. We've watched all the fights all night. It's stacked to the gills, and then bam, I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure Alex Bahia and Jamal Hill are going to end in a knockout, and whoever wins, it's off to the races, and it's going to be clutch. You're the face of 205. It's perfect, but I think Jamal Hill has more to lose here than Alex Bahia. So it's a toss-up. I don't know who I'm leaning. I always lean a more traditional kickboxer because that's just who I am. But regardless, it's phenomenal. And then this gets me to number one, my favorite fight, the most nervous I've ever been for a fight. It's Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, man. You can, no matter which way you cut it, these guys have both of them have the potential of stealing the show no matter what. If you're Justin Gaethje, you have a chance right now, no matter what you do, no matter if you're opponent of Max Holloway as of right now and for the time being, you're going to be the first. You always have a chance to be the first one to knock out Max Holloway or to be the first one to knock him down. You have that ability, and Justin Gaethje is the number one person that has a chance to do that and probably willing to capitalize. And so clearly, you win that one. Not only were you almost even promised the championship already at 155, but now you definitely do. You just knocked out Max Holloway. You defended the BMF belt, even though I hate the BMF belt. I don't even think this fight needs it, but it's cool for the fans that love it and the casual. So cool, you defended the BMF belt. You could be, if he's gonna win, he's gonna knock out knock out Max Holloway. So you can be the first one to knock Max Holloway out. That's a feat of itself. Like this would just be probably the most crucial thing for Justin Gaethje ever. It would just it would put his name as the highlight reel, the highlight Justin Gaethje. Like it would just put his nickname, to full use, and it would make so much sense. But if you're Max Holloway right now, I think Max Holloway, for me personally, I'm a diehard Max Holloway. Sorry to glaze this guy up right now, but he has the potential right now to stealing the show at UFC 300. This man, if you guys recall, this man's been fighting on nothing but weird fight nights, going overseas to fight the Korean Zombie. He did one in, Kansas City last year against Arnold Allen that I watched. Like he's been getting kind of the, the shitty draw of it all. He fought, in the first card on ESPN, all these things. Like he hasn't had a true moment at a huge pay-per-view in a while. And for him to get this at UFC 300, to not only add his crazy reign at 145, now you can add that you're the BMF belt. You knocked out Justin Gaethje. You beat him, whatever you did to him. It's going to be absolutely impressive. Now you have a chance as well. If this man wins, you have a chance now to pick between 145 belt and 155. You can choose. You're in the driver's seat. You're pound for pound, defending your whole rank. Like Max Holloway has the most to win at UFC 300, and I'm telling y'all right now, he is going to knock out Justin Gaethje, and I'll do a video breaking down why I think so even more, but there's no matter who wins that fight, like I broke it down, Gaethje can be the first one to say he knocked out Max Holloway. He can come off and be like, wow, I just knocked this dude out. I'm on a fucking run right now. I knocked out Dustin Poirier. Islam, I'm coming for you. I'm knocking you out. Like, that would be crazy. But then Max Holloway does it to Justin Gaethje. He's sitting there like, wow, I just knocked out the most badass 155er you guys have. Islam, you know what? I was supposed to fight Khabib. Let's get it. Or, oh, Tapira, look at you. I just knocked out 150. Like, I'm coming down for you. He could do whatever he wants. And clearly, I'm going to be screaming from the top of my lungs. But those are easily the top 10 most exciting things I'm looking forward to for sure when it comes to UFC 300. And let me know if I fucked up at all or if you guys would change anything out. And like I said, Jim Miller, Bobby Green, I love it. I love Holly Holm. I love all these people, but I just don't know what that does for the future. I don't know what that does for a title shot. I don't know what it does for the title picture. So I don't know, man. UFC 300 is stacked. It's by far one of the most stacked cards ever, and it's just crazy. After the WrestleMania weekend, the Eclipse, I'm telling you, UFC 300's got something special to it, and I think we're going to see some crazy, crazy shit. So, as always, your boy, Stephen Moustaris, and let's go, baby.